YouTube is Will from Will Development. This is my 267th weekly update. I apologize if the fan makes any bad noises. I can't remember if it affects the recording at all, but I'm going to dive right into it. So this was the first week going into the fives, doing my fives. And the week started off pretty good. I don't exactly recall the kind of numbers that I hit, so I will look at that real quick and hopefully give you an answer real quick once I get there. Let's see, where were we? Yeah, 135 for 5 on press with good form. Pretty happy about it. Some of the reps weren't as low as I could have gone or would have wanted to go, but I got through them, and things are going pretty good. So it's good to know I've still got that in me. Bar is spinny, and the particular bar I used that day was the grip on it's not so hot. The knurling on it is a little shallow, so it's pretty tough. And then honestly, it was pretty downhill from there, man. Tuesday with squats was just honestly, it was pretty awful. I was only able to get up to about 235 for a set of 5. Now, the depth was pretty good, and the actual tightness in my back stayed real good, but my hands were rolling. I should say the bar was rolling. Couldn't quite keep the bar as stable as I wanted, but like I said, depth was good and didn't really hurt myself, and things stayed pretty tight. There was a couple reps there that were a little, wish they were a little tighter. Probably give it, probably could have done better. Let's just put it that way. But, these things happen. You have rough weeks. It's just the way it is. And then it is what it is. And then on bench, wanted to do more than 250 for 5, but my head wasn't in it last night, and my body just wasn't in it either. So still ended up doing the 250 for 5, and next week hopefully it'll be better. And the same thing with tonight. My body's just felt wrecked. I've had a lot of extra stuff going on after training and after work and all that stuff. I did manage a set of 5 at 245 on deadlift. Form was good. The reason I gave myself about an 8 out of 10 on it is because I didn't feel the engagement I was looking for. When I do deadlifts now, I'm specifically looking to feel everything basically from my rear delts all the way down to my glutes connected. I want to feel all of that as one solid chain. And if I don't feel that, I don't consider it necessarily the best of reps. That being said, I can still tell when I'm out of position, when I'm not. So, I stayed in the proper position, but I just couldn't feel that chain connecting all the way through. And a big part of it's just the lack of sleep I've been getting just from having to do stuff. Stone orders and things like that have taken up a lot of time right now, which is a good thing, but, everybody's only got a certain amount of them that they can give, so I'm just right at the end of my rope, and training is taking a bit of a hit. I've had basically no accessories this week, just because getting through my regular training is just taking every ounce of me. And even then, it's still not as good as it could or even maybe should be. But that's okay. We're still in off season. I'm not going to kick myself for it. Every day is a new day to try and get better, and every week is just a combination of days. So, just because, honestly, 3 out of the 4 training days this week were pretty rough. I mean, they just weren't as good as they could have been or should have been. I feel like on press and on deadlift, I actually made progress toward goals. On squats and bench, I don't feel like much progress was made. I feel like it was just going through the motions, but there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? Just going through the motions is sometimes enough. And I'm not gonna hold myself, at a standard where I'm not allowed to have an off week. Because that would just be crazy. Because for all intents and purposes, the last 4 weeks have been pretty damn good. I mean, the last month of training has actually been really good. So to come 1 week in and it not be as good as I wanted, and the numbers still went up, except for on bench, but the numbers still went up essentially across the board, and form stayed good enough. And I'm speaking specifically about squats right now, really. That's the only place where I was like, oof, I wish I had maybe just stuck with like 235 or something like that, and not gotten too excited for that upper piece. My body clearly just was not able to handle it. But other than that, it's good. I'm excited to be. I'm gonna just announce it. I don't know if I talked about it, but providing stones for Tampa Bay's Strongest Man, which is one of the biggest competitions here in Florida every year. It's a yearly competition. They've been running out for probably almost 10 years, if not 10 years by now. And I'm actually providing 5 stones as well as all the trophies for the actual competition, which is super exciting. The gentleman who runs the competition, Donnie Thompson, he is, as far as I know, the Florida chairman for United States Strongman, which is one of the 2 big leagues. You got Strongman Corporation, USS, United States Strongman, here in the United States anyway. And so it's very exciting to be providing the stones for, like I said, one of the biggest competitions in Florida. And in terms of actual amount of people that go to that, it probably is the biggest. Now, in terms of notoriety, it's got to be right up there, because a lot of people I know go to it. So it's super exciting to be providing the stones for that competition. It's always humbling to be trusted with that, and it's super cool to be making the trophies, which is basically just 8-inch stones, and I believe he's planning on mounting them on some sort of flat surface, like a platform or block of some kind, to actually give trophies. They're going to be beefy. They're going to look really cool. I've had people use them as trophies in the past, and people seem to love them. They get a kick out of them. And to be honest, that's about all the 8-inch stones are worth. I mean, I even use the lighter concrete, so they only weigh about 15 pounds, give or take. But even at maximum weight with the heaviest concrete, they're only 20 pounds-ish. So you can't get a whole lot done with just an 8-inch stone and 20 pounds. I mean, I kind of use them as a selling point if I'm trying to get somebody to buy stones, and I'm like, hey, I'll make some for your kids too for free, because they're that sort of, simple. They're not a complicated pour at all. Other than that, I was on the podcast with Kai once again, the Nerd of Strength. We spoke for about 2.5 hours, and she trimmed it down to an acceptable hour and a half. And we were speaking about World's Ultimate Strongman Dubai. I will put a link to that down in the description below, or one of the click buttons at the end, maybe, if I remember. I probably won't remember, so I promise I'll put it down below. But check that out if you have time. It's a really good talk. And I'm getting the time call here, so I'm going to go ahead and end it with, remember, it's okay to have an off week. I feel like I say that a lot, but this is the reality of training moderately hard as well as having goals and having a life. This is reality. Every week is not beautiful. And I said it on my post, I think yesterday, where basically I just said, if you only post, no, it was last week when my hamstring cramped. If you only post the good stuff online, then you're a bitch. And I stand by that. You should be posting reality, and reality is sometimes you miss lifts that you should be getting. And sometimes weeks aren't as heavy as they should be. So, it's real cool to sit around and watch all the heavy lifting be done on Instagram, but the reality is most of the hard work is done with accessory movements. And, one of my favorite quotes I saw recently was, I see an awful lot of professional athletes goblet squatting with 50 pounds. And it's true. They're doing perfect form with 50 pounds, and they're getting a lot done that way. A lot more than sloppy form at 100 pounds. Not that that doesn't have its place sometimes, but think like an athlete. Train like an athlete. And if you don't, then what's your excuse?